We are live.
There you
Hello,
go.
beautiful
We are
people.
live.
We're streaming live here with the one and only Amro Mohi, creator of Amro's production. Okay, he is an incredible artist, researcher on a lot of sacred knowledge, and lately he's been diving deep into a level of consciousness. So he's going to help us create a greater awareness around what consciousness is, okay, what the soul is about during this carnation, and help us go through, you know, what these levels are. So, Amro, lead us away. Tell us who you are and what this has been about, man.
Yeah, so we met before, man.
Mm,
Let's maybe give the listeners a brief introduction.
yeah.
Y- You were my very first guest on
Yes.
Chasing Mindgasms.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
you were the very
crazy.
first guest. You were the very first person to come here to this office slash studio.
Yeah,
And ever since then, I wanted you to come on the show. So this was
yeah.
just you said maybe we should go live so your followers, people who you interact with, can maybe interact with us while we're doing this.
Mm,
Um, and I'm glad. I'm really happy that we're doing this. I
yeah,
honestly would rather have us both here in the studio. I made
yeah,
that clear when we did the test earlier, but
yeah,
maybe for next time around, just so we could have the conversation one on one. So
yeah.
maybe a little brief introduction on what I do. So my name is Amro, and about 10 years ago, I left my country because I wanted to understand more of the world and religion. Where I grew up was just a bit closed in. If you live in a small village, a small town, you know how it is. You have to leave to, go on that hero's journey, on the calling, right? And explore yourself, your ideas, your beliefs,
Yeah.
unearth everything and see if it holds true. And it led me here. It led me here today. I'm making artwork. Maybe you can see in the background.
Incredible
These
stuff.
maybe were
Incredible
the
stuff. Yeah.
were the very first paintings that I've done in on my website Amro Mohi. And most of my work has to do with exploring consciousness, spirituality, and um, these things that interest you and I. So maybe your audience would be able to relate the things that have
Mm,
to do with spirituality, the all the quote unquote woo woo stuff.
yeah.
Where we all come from? Are we actually apes? Did aliens come here and make us? All the stuff that's a bit out there. So I try to put that in the
Yeah.
artwork, and I try to talk about that on Chasing Mindgasms, which is where you'll be able
Mm,
to hear the very first episode
mm,
that I recorded with yourself,
yeah.
and more on these things. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that'll be a good introduction.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's really fascinating me about your work is just the boundaries that you push with your experience and how these taboo subjects are not really quite often spoken about because we tend to push them aside, and
Yeah.
it can really break our ego, which is one of the paintings you just really recently shared. Absolutely amazing stuff, man. Like, yeah. So breaking the ego.
Maybe
I mean,
we'll put
the
that on
whole
the screen later.
yeah, we'll get that to people to see little snippet. But yeah, man. So you've been going on this journey, and lately you've been looking at the law of one, right? The law of
Yes.
one.
Yes.
So tell us what's that about?
So the Law of One is essentially a series of 5 books that have been transcribed in the early 1980s by a guy called James McCarty. Um,
Mm,
it's There are a collection of 106 audio sessions
yeah,
between a questioner called Don Elkins and
yeah,
an entity that's being channeled
mm,
called Ra.
yeah,
Ra is basically a what is called a social memory complex, which is a a collection of beings that have eventually merged together to create this quote unquote super consciousness. And
mm,
these entities or these beings are not really so far from here. They used to inhabit planet Venus around
right.
2.6 billion years ago. And now
Wow.
we have NASA telling us that there were possibly life on Venus around 2 billion years ago, which
Yeah.
also coincides with this book. The recent discoveries by NASA have been shared to us on September 2019, and the book
Yeah.
has been written in the 1980s. So the book aims to teach the law of one, which is basically what these beings see as the highest truth.
Mm.
It sort of collects all the good spiritual teachings.
Mm.
If you're gonna go down the road of Buddhism or Eastern religions or Abrahamic religions, you will find these similarities. So the book brings these things together, clarifies them, and offers a more unified outlook into spirituality.
Yeah.
It's like the encyclopedia of all of the
Yeah.
woo-woo
Right.
stuff, right? So if
Yeah.
you're trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
understand what happened to the pyramids, check it on the Law of
Yeah.
One. If you want to know
Mm.
about Atlantis, go to the Law of One, because
Mm.
as
Wow.
they claim, it's basically history, right?
Yep.
This entity has visited planet Earth for around 75,000 years. They've been
Right.
here with us since day one.
Wow.
Come and they go. They come and they go. 5,000 years. They
Yeah.
leave. They come back again.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets
Yeah.
that. Oh, we were all contacted before, just so we can have the urge, the asking. So this is basically the Law of One. It's a very long book, but it's super
Yeah.
dense.
Yeah.
And man, it's great. I just got into it last year. It brings
Yeah.
everything, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You say so. You talk about these. You spoke about these beings that come in and go and kind of just observe what's happening in planet. I guess our level of consciousness as human beings. And yeah, so these entities, like as you know, we've spoken about Anunnaki before, right? We've spoken about these
Yeah.
what some would call the fallen angels. So the Anunnaki pretty much decided was interpreted by Zachariah Sitchin, right? So this
Yeah.
researcher who was fascinated by the ancient Sumerians who had these alien-looking scripts on the walls of ancient Sumeria, and basically what he deciphered was these beings of like 9 foot tall who came down and pretty much created the human species as we know it. So that's how the story goes. So essentially, basically what he got out of it was two brothers were on a trip around the galaxy or the universe in search for gold, because gold is a mineral that can help protect the ozone layer, right? So some people will have
Yeah.
gold as the tint of their car to protect them from excessive amount of UV rays or whatever. And so these guys came to planet Earth and discovered, whoa, okay, there's a shitload of gold here. Let's do something about it. Let's mine some of the gold here. And so as humans, we weren't obviously at the level of consciousness we were now. And what they did was they genetically modified us and pretty much turned us into Homo sapiens sapiens and created a slave race of beings to build the pyramid, as the story goes. And during that time, you had the good brother, you had the terrible brother, the bad brother who just wanted to get shit done. And then, the good one decided that, we can't just
Enlil,
treat.
Enki.
Yeah, so there's Enlil and Enki, and I don't remember which one decided that, we've got to have some sort of compassion towards the humans, but they had some clash with their
A
ideas, and
fallout.
so the war began. This was around maybe I think a little before 12,000 years ago or something, and so they had a clash, and so one of the brothers decided to take what they could, and before you know it, there was a discovery that there could have been a potential flood, which is why you might see like a lot of how history, the timelines change so quickly, like 12 years ago, and you see it around the planets, right? You see like for some reason 12,000 years ago seems to be the pinnacle point of how we've just gone back in time. We've started again. Like for
Yeah.
example, looking at the Sphinx, for example. Um, it is so it's disproportional. The head of the lion, or the mummy, is
The man,
disproportional
yeah.
to the body. And so what they did was they looked into the water age of the layers, and researchers have discovered that it's approximately 12,000 years ago where I guess you could say, the Noah's flood happened, right? Where
Yeah.
somehow they just knew that this happened. So yeah, it's interesting how a lot of these alien or a lot of these I guess beings,
What we call today gods. Yeah,
yeah,
these are the aliens, right? I mean, people.
yeah,
If you say something comes from the sky, it's full of light, it's real quick, it can heal people. Psh, that's an alien,
yeah,
right? So here's something that I found 2 days ago when I
okay,
was reading the Law of One, which
yeah,
coincides with what you just said about the the flood. I wrote it actually on my book, on my
oh
notes right
wow,
here.
okay,
So they say that they came here 11,000 years ago, and they came here 13,000 years ago. So Ra was in actual physical form when it visited the Egyptians around 11,000 years ago, and the Atlanteans 13,000 years ago. So when you say all these creations have happened, there's evidence to it. These guys are saying this in the Law of One. They're saying this has
yeah,
actually happened, and they visited in physical form. They came down as gods because the Egyptians and the Atlanteans didn't. They were pantheistic, if that makes sense. Pantheist, as in they believe in existence of several gods, so they didn't mind, and they came down. See, man, these are the questions. I don't think a lot of people are asking these questions, man.
yeah,
And as soon as you start asking these questions and talk about them, people go like, here's another conspiracy theorist. Stop smoking weed, man.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
weed. I don't just smoke weed. I smoke meth too. But that's not the point. The point is there's stuff that we need to explore. We gotta look into
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, there's a whole can of worms that we can all go through, and I think
Yeah.
the more questions you ask, the more answers you get, because when we don't question and we confine to the beliefs that's been presented in front of us, we limit our reality to what we know, and it's egoic, and you're not really giving yourself room to grow. And so when it comes to religion, you said that like your paintings describe, how it's a part of the ego, and how it limits your perception of self. I mean, what is self? What is unity? What is everything? How did you
Yep.
break out of religion? Because I know a lot of people these days, they're very trapped. They feel like, oh, like no one understands me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, like, oh, like I have a different way of thinking, and everyone judges. Like, how did you make that breakthrough and think, oh, fuck it, you know what? I'll just go my own way.
You'll be surprised, man. There's a lot of people who are discovering this stuff nowadays, and it has to do with where we are again as a planet in our evolution, and where we are in our star system, and where the star system is in the Milky Way. All this stuff sort of is the reason why we are where we are today, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of people who are asking questions. There's a lot of videos on
Yeah.
YouTube. We have the internet. We have books. We have riots, the Arab Spring. Everybody is saying, no, fuck you. I'm not listening to you. You're killing everybody. I'm gonna go out and say fuck you. No, we're gonna change the system. We're gonna spread more love. The last time we saw stuff like this happening was in the 60s, and quickly it disappeared. But we're seeing a second wave for it now. So if you are feeling lonely, if you're feeling like nobody understands, nobody listens, maybe that's the reason why nobody understands and nobody listens, because you're affirming that belief. So whenever there might be a possibility of someone actually agreeing with you, or asking questions that are similar to yours, or even having a conversation that is that could shed light on some of the issues that you might be going through, if you believe that, you're not going to see that opportunity. So if anybody is out there thinking nobody understands, just put any hashtags. Hashtag spirituality. Go on Instagram. You can start a conversation with strangers, and they'll be happy to talk to you about this stuff. So it started for me 10 years ago when I was, how old was I? 16, 17. I had a conversation with a friend who basically challenged my belief, right? You just grew up in the Arab world. We believe what we believe. There's no way There's no way anything else is different. And he just asked questions, and that was enough for me to go home and research. And I came across Alan Watts.
Mm.
Now, for the next 5 years,
Oh,
I didn't understand a word Alan Watts said because it was just way too deep for me. But I just kept listening. I said, "There's a way to this. I have to keep listening. There's something there."
yeah.
Until I had my very first moment of what you would call awakening, where the stream of thoughts that a lot of people identify as the self, the ego, just
Mm.
stops, right? And um, ever since then, I was able to break out of severe mental issues that I had. Severe for me, at least. I didn't go around, comparing. How are your suicidal thoughts today? I didn't go do that, but but they felt severe to me,
Yeah.
and that was the beginning of the opening, basically. Um, I got into Muji, some Eckhart Tolle stuff, some meditations. Meditation was the thing that really helped, and all of this law of attraction or pyramids and what is called today conspiracy theorists. I found that stuff over the past 2 years, basically over Joe Rogan. When he had
Mm.
Randall Carson and Graham Hancock,
Yeah.
it's really convincing. If you start listening to this stuff, you go like, "Hey, man, there's something there."
Yeah.
And I just decided to share it. I was like, "Man,
Yeah.
I keep having these conversations. Like when we met the first time, we kept having this
Yeah.
conversation for a long time." And this keeps happening, especially if we
Yeah.
sit down and go like, "Hey, let's get to know each other. What are you about?" You start going
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
this stuff. Eventually, any
Yeah.
conversation that goes for a long time, you'll have to go into what moves you as a person. What are you made
Mm.
of? What are your basic core structures that govern your life? And let's
Mm.
examine those. Let's
Mm.
see if we can change something so you can have a better experience, so I can have a better
Yeah.
experience. And I started sharing it. Um, yeah, so maybe that's basically what happened, the
Mm.
gist of it over the past
Yeah.
10 years. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that I'm having this conversation with you today because
Yeah.
by us having this conversation, maybe you'll invite more people to discuss stuff that are
Taboo.
quote unquote taboo.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid, just speak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it
Absolutely.
happened. How did it happen for you, Daniel? How was that
Yeah.
for you? I don't think I asked you a question last time you were here. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I
So I
did. But
I
let's
had a
let's
couple
share
of
it.
break. Yeah, had a couple of breakthroughs. One 10 years ago, after going cold turkey with some marijuana, and life just became so lucid. I felt like everything was just happening in my favor, and I got so overwhelmed by the power of thought and how you manifest everything. So I just kind of pushed that aside, focused on my health, and then 7 years later, I had another breakthrough through MDMA, and I felt the unity of everything. And I started to think, whoa, like this is pretty divine. Like you can feel the love of the trees, the animals, the environments, yada, yada, yada. And then I started to experience all these synchronicities, like these coincidences, and like, whoa, this is
Mm.
bizarre. How come I wasn't taught this? How come I wasn't exposed to this information? And so, you speak about it
Mm-hmm.
online, and then like you said, you create this hashtag, you build a community, you connect with other people who have these similar experiences, and then you go down into the rabbit hole. You go as deep as the fucking waters can see, possibly find Atlantis. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you ask yourself a lot of questions, and you keep going and going, and it just doesn't stop. There's this continuous world of knowledge where,
Exploration.
yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, here we are today, man. Just speaking more about it, and connecting with people who are going through this process, this awakening,
Mm-hmm.
so we can verify to them, man, you're not crazy. Your beliefs, your
It's
perception of
happening.
reality. Yeah, that's right. Especially like during this time, like we're shifting into the age of Aquarius, moving from the
Mm-hmm.
believing to the knowing, and as information is constantly being splurred out into the internet, people will be exposed to it, and there's no turning back. We can't. There's no more pushing this aside. We got to talk about it because,
That's
yeah, we
true.
have to talk about it.
It's happening. We look. I was doing a gig as a security, and I was standing in
Yeah.
front of a shopping center and during the pandemic, right? And this old lady comes up to me, right? And she starts saying, "This is all a conspiracy. This has all been happening for so long. These people on top are trying to push us down." Besides whether she was right, whether COVID-19 is a conspiracy or not, she was asking questions. She was 50 something. She
Mm,
was asking. Whereas I remember growing up, those who were 50 and 60 in my life, these were the people that I can't even talk to. I have to sort of go and approach
mm,
them in a very respectful manner, in an automatic way. There's no exploring conversations like this. But now today, people who are older than us and also the younger generations are not afraid of
mm,
exploring this stuff. And
mm.
maybe it's the power of the internet where
Yeah,
you can find information like this. So yeah, it's good to see this stuff opening and exploring, because
yeah,
for me at least, this is a new market that I can tap into. Like it's
yeah,
not just about the spirituality. You don't have to go out and start selling stuff that people don't need. But if you start working in this field, right? Um, Maybe the things you sell or the things that you share can eventually make money for you, because they are valuable and people want to hear what you have to say and want to
yeah.
learn from what you have been researching.
Mm,
So it's funny how all of this has changed. Right now,
yeah,
we're spreading the information, but we can also make a living out of it. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
devote yourself to
yeah. Let's talk about that, man.
the
Because
searching.
you've over the last year and a half, you've created like a lot of beautiful artwork. You've published a lot of content around your podcast, and created a really good life of purpose and direction. And I think a lot of people have this fear of like, oh, am I gonna make it? I'd rather stick to my safe job because that's just the way the system is. And you know, how should people cultivate this life of purpose and this life of meaning? Because a lot of people feel stuck. They feel stuck, especially with the pandemic today. They feel like there's
Mm.
no way out. Like, where do they start? How did they get the ball rolling?
Maybe there is no way out. Look, I've just been lucky, honestly. I
Yeah,
still am really lucky. I mean, we live both in Australia, in a beautiful place that you don't really have to work so much so you can make a living, right? So you can live comfortably.
yeah.
Um, but my advice, maybe to those who are in this path, is to find stillness first.
Mm,
Because you look. Let's put it this way, right?
yeah,
Whatever information, whatever thoughts you're gonna get, any stream of knowledge, right, or energy that could or could not allow you to change your direction in life. So this can be a conversation with a friend. This can
mm,
be a series of thoughts you're having at work. This can be a book that you picked up. All of that can be either true or not true,
mm,
especially to you, right?
yeah.
And when I mean by that is it inspired by your ego? Is it a
Ooh,
fear? Is it a fear thought? Is it based around fear, or is it based around inspiration? Is it based around
mm,
love? Is it based around
mm,
the belief, the very strong belief that there is abundance and you will never need for anything? And even if you
mm,
die, who gives a shit? There are millions of lives that you are gonna take. Is that where it's coming from? Is it coming from that, or is it coming from fear? Because if you're at your workplace and am I gonna make it or not? Maybe you're not gonna make it, but your attitude is what really matters.
yeah,
Because if these are the thoughts around the topic, and you're only moving from fear, guess what you will manifest? Guess what you will experience? More of fear.
yeah,
We know today that this is how the world works. We know
yeah,
today that your heart and your mind emit a certain, what do you call it, electromagnetic waves that play, literally
yeah,
finger the field
yeah,
around us, what we call ether, the field of life, what we call
yeah.
the God particle, this
Mm,
thing that allows all elements to show themselves to you, right? I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm looking at my stuff in the house, but my friend, we have both co-created this experience. So whoever is listening, if you're stuck in fear, guess who made that?
mm,
You can tell me, no, I didn't think deliberately in fear, but also you didn't mind when people came and told you you're gonna fucking lose. So by
mm,
agreeing, bam, you've created it. So
yeah.
you gotta find, first slow down, sit the fuck
Mm,
down, read, decipher, Don't get pulled by the sexy, juicy, dark thoughts of the ego. No, let him go and find some stillness, find some well-being in you, and that will inspire you. That will tell you, go do this, go do that, and you'll find a way. So that's really my only advice
Yeah.
for anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It comes down to your own projection, because that's essentially what we see, how we are perceiving ourselves, what we're feeling, and essentially attract those
Yeah.
thoughts and feelings.
These
But
experiences to you.
yeah, you are what you attract. At the end of the day, we know likes attract likes, hate attracts hate, and you are the manifestation of your own thoughts and creative process. So let's talk about pyramids, bro. Let's dive into pyramids.
You
Now
want to dive
you
into that?
Yeah. So one of your paintings, incredible stuff. It was one of those. These are very unique pyramids. They're the more narrow ones, right? These are a little
Oh,
bit
yeah, yeah,
taller.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let's tell us about that. So these pyramids are very special.
All right, all right. Just give me a moment. I'll just get some more light into the room because it's super dark
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, the painting that Daniel is talking about is a painting that I made of pyramids in Sudan, my country where I'm from. People don't know there's like 300 pyramids in Sudan. There's a lot of them. They're tiny, they're narrow, but there's a lot of them because pyramids were one of those technologies that just spread all over the world because they're not just here on Earth. They're not just here. We're not the ones who made them, right? There are pyramids everywhere, right? They're not just used for, oh my God, they look nice. Let's take a picture with a camel.
Yeah.
No, that's not just that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started diving into it, and came across the information that you came across. The Anunnaki stuff, the Anunnaki stuff who built the pyramid,
Yeah.
and in that painting you'll see that I put star systems and little hints for those who can see only. If you buy it, if you take a look at it, you'll be like, I kind of know what he's hinting to.
Down below.
So
Down below.
yeah, down below over here if you want to take a look at that. Dude, look, I'm all over the place, but I really just want to say this.
Yeah.
So in the book, The Law of One, because as I told you, this year was like, I discovered that book, let's fucking read it, and it made everything tie together. Ra, the being that is speaking through Carla, says that he is the being that came down to Earth to teach people in South America and the Egyptians how to build the pyramids. Ra is also what is it called? What's that?
Is there
The emerald, the emerald tablets? Who wrote the emerald tablets? Who do you call that?
I'm not sure actually. I don't know about that one.
It's Enki's son. I can't forgot. But whoever was responsible for the emerald tablets, whoever the Egyptians worshipped as Ra, the god with the long, with the bird head and a long, big, what do you call that?
The beak. The beak.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the same dude who came down to teach people how to build the pyramids. So as I'm going through this, I came to understand, they're not just structures that look like that. They are used to harness the energy to balance Earth, to balance people who go into these pyramids, to balance your energetic points, your chakras, so you don't have any blockages. So the field can flow in you very smoothly and come out. The field, the ether, again, the God particle, the love energy, right? The all infinite one, right? Can flow in you easily and come out. And that's why these pyramids were built, basically, to heal people and to provide electricity, to provide balancing to the earth so people don't experience earthquakes. All of this stuff. Yeah. But I'm sure you know more about this than me. You've been going through that rabbit hole.
Yeah, so as we know, everything is frequent, everything's vibrating, right? Everything's vibrating at a certain resonance, from this pen to you, the television, everything around us, right? And these blocks, these stones, they emit a certain frequency, right? This can be proven by one of the underground temples in, I think it's below southern of Italy. I forget the country name, but there's a temple there that resonates. It's right below. I think it's not Macedonia. It's what's below Italy? Below Italy, Italy below. Anyways, there's a country there below Italy, right? Small island, and there's a sacred temple that resonates
Yeah.
at a frequency of 111 hertz. And what they've
Mm.
discovered is that this frequency eliminates cancer. It eliminates
Yeah, there we
cancer.
go.
Unbelievable stuff. And like scientists today are already developing sound frequency that can literally target cancer and remove it. And for whatever reason, this information is being suppressed because, well, cancer is very profitable today, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
It sells medications, it sells pills, it profits the pharmaceutical industry. So yeah, but essentially these things, those temples that you drew in Sudan, those ones they did research on how like anyone that went through that said that even if you put like food or whatever, they seem to
It doesn't go
age.
bad.
Yeah, it doesn't go bad. It stays. It keeps its richness, its wealth a
Yeah.
lot longer. And man, these
So the
things
way
are so.
that works, what I sorry to cut you off, but the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
that works is that, all right, like this is what I understood
yeah.
from Billy Carson, right, at
Mm,
Forbidden Knowledge. So he said these pyramids, they're basically like the shape of this bottle, right?
yeah,
Like that, right?
yeah,
So what they do, what happens if you flip this bottle and open this, the
yeah.
what do you call
The
that?
lid,
Forgot. The lid,
the lid.
right? The water inside will flow in a shape that is like a spiral. It will
Yeah,
spiral down. Like the
yeah,
same thing happens when you flush your toilet. There's a
yeah.
spiral whenever you have this kind of shape. So
Mm,
why is this related to the pyramids? Because the pyramids harness the force of Earth, everything that
mm,
this energy that gives us life, and does basically the same thing. So if you're gonna sit on top of the pyramid, not only that you will feel an electric
mm.
pulse, a
Yeah,
vibration, you feel like fuck, I'm jolted, but you'll
yeah,
also be super healthy. There was an
yeah,
experiment done in Russia, some Russian science. This guy built a pyramid through PVS pipes or
yeah.
PVS pipes, the
PVC,
plastic pipes.
PVC pipe. Yeah,
PVC, there you go, right? Um, and took babies that would would die, right? They're just the, these babies will die. I don't know what they had, but they were born prematurely, and
yeah,
there's no way to save these children.
yeah.
He took these children, took these babies, and put them inside these pyramids. All of them are still alive.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy, crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
I think. Wow,
yeah.
that's unbelievable. I think I heard also a story about the charge of the pyramids, the top of pyramids, is so powerful that if you brought some sort of like bottle, that it would literally pop, like the light would just pop. It's so conducting. Now there's this
Mm-hmm.
there are. Have you heard of Michael Tillinger? So Michael Tillinger is a researcher.
Haha, love that
Yeah.
guy. But please introduce him to
Yeah,
the listeners. Yes.
yeah. So Michael Tillinger researches a lot of these unique kind of pyramids in Africa, particularly in South Africa, and a lot of these somewhat Stonehenge-looking pyramids. They're found everywhere. There are hundreds and thousands. For some reason, we don't know that, and a lot of us don't know this
Mm.
information. When there's hundreds and thousands, and basically these, we still don't know why they've been created. Okay, what the purpose was. Some say it's probably the Earth frequency that created these shapes, and so we've protected it by putting these stones. But one interesting story is that one of these cliffs in South Africa, right, sitting on the cliff, you've got these Stonehenges, just whatever there. No one understands the purpose of these Stonehenge, between two trees. And these stone hedges are so powerful. When you walk into it, it emits whatever frequency it was, like 300 gigahertz or whatever. It's so powerful. And then when you come out of it, the vibration changes back to the Earth's frequency. And so what his idea is that this is possibly a kind of a teleport to transport the
Mm.
gold. So that's
Stargates.
yeah. Man, we could get into Stargates about, there's three doors, there's temples. I heard this one story where there's this certain culture of people, they claim that one, there was never a moon there. It could be have been transported there. And two, they've got these portals, these buildings. No one knows how they got there, but they've seen people come walk in and out of these doors like disappeared, like crazy stuff. But yeah, man, who knows
Didn't the
how
CIA do
or
that when they went to Iraq? They took the Stargate that was in the museums there.
well,
It's the first thing
I
they
believe
did when they went there. Yeah, they took
mm,
that. But let's go back to Michael Tellinger. I recently
yeah,
looked into one of his documentaries or
yeah,
programs, and he was showing these spherical balls that were found under Earth in South Africa as well.
wow,
Um, they're just spheres. They're like, I actually have a tennis ball right here. Just a tennis ball like this. But what makes them special is first, they are 30 billion years old.
yep,
Right? Like where they have been found, the Earth, carbon dating 30 billion years. And
wow,
second, there's a strip around the ball like this. Like if you'd imagine a Pokemon ball, it
yeah,
has
yeah,
like, right. Fast forward, go to Saturn. Look
mm,
at one of the moons that Saturn has.
okay,
And one of those moons has the same strip.
right,
It looks like when if you go to what's that particle accelerator in the border of France, CERN. Yeah, right. It's a big ass ring,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
mean you can pretty much see it if you go to space.
mm,
Maybe that moon has some sort of structure that is just like CERN all
right,
around that moon. But why would there be so many of these metal balls, metal spheres in South Africa 30 billion years ago? Why would they be there? Who brought them there? Who made them there? Because they're not just natural formations. Someone had to
yeah,
actually make them,
yeah,
right? And this is his idea. His idea
yeah,
is that this perhaps is a sort of a religious, um, it's a religious shape or religious sphere, or they used it for
mm,
religious purposes. It meant
yeah,
home to those who were living there.
yeah,
The same way people carry crosses today, right? Some point, if you look into Earth, you'll find these crosses around.
mm,
If we were wiped out by a flood, and whoever comes after us starts digging under Earth and finds all these symbols, they'll be like, "What the fuck is that?" Right? Same thing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's maybe what happened. So,
mm,
dude, there's so much stuff you can dive into.
yeah.
This is what happens every time we start a podcast. You and I, we just start so many topics and never complete them and jump into the next one.
Yeah, going back to man-made stuff, you brought an interesting point. Now, like those the temples they have in South America and
Yeah,
in in different places in Asia, in Europe, a lot of these stone buildings are so precise to the point where you literally cannot put a hair in between
yeah,
those walls, and for some reason we still cannot recreate that same sort of building even with the technology today. So there has to be some sort of creator behind this process that was out of this world or out of our time or
yeah.
a different race before we came and tried to recreate it. And every time you look at all these people who try to build on top of it, it's like it's almost way out. You
Silly.
can see yeah, it's
Yes.
yeah,
What are you even doing?
yeah,
Like it's
um,
obvious that modern people try to build over this stuff. Like that's not yours, but this
yeah,
is.
yeah, totally. With the
We're not
rust,
the
so
only ones here, man. We're not the only ones here.
funny you
Definitely, we're
say
not the only ones here.
funny you say that. The other night, my sister showed me a video of a coworker who was recording the storms, massive storms the other night, right? And he was just recording it because he looked like fascinated. And in that video, they discovered that there was a UFO just observing the storm. It was beaming light downwards, and then it just went,
What?
whoop, 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 and then it went, shoo, just disappeared. Yep.
What?
Yeah, this was in Sydney,
Where
like
is this video?
somewhere. Yet to get consent about publishing the video. He's yeah, we're just not don't want to publish it just yet. We're gonna get consent today, but apparently, like looking at the video, analyzing it, you could see a UFO moving back and forth, and then it just went shoo. Crazy stuff, man.
Dude, we will start seeing more UFOs.
Yeah.
So Ra explains the reason why there are no visitations. Maybe in session 4 or 5, and like in the very first recordings made, Don asks him, "Why are you guys not here? Why are there no UFOs? What about those spacecrafts that we see around?" He goes like, for you to see these things, first your whole planetary vibration must accept the existence of such crafts. You guys have to be ready for it, because for these super advanced beings to come here, well, before we jump into that, these super advanced beings have their own laws that they adhere to. Right. That's just part of their evolution. The same way Buddhists wouldn't kill animals, and the same way you wouldn't go around killing people, right? Yeah. We have certain laws that govern our physical experience at the moment because of our place in our spiritual, basically grade system, right? We are evolution in our grades today, right? So the higher up you go, the higher up in this grade system or in this level you go, now you will have abilities to basically travel between planets, what we think of as super weird, what we see in the movies, right? This stuff, like building spacecrafts that fucking hover, which is, by the way, to aliens like an ancient technology. They don't even need to do that. They could just show up. They're like, "All right, I'm here," and they can show up as your dead uncle. Like, it's completely fine, because when you are no longer bound by these meat bodies, when you are more of an energetic being, you can basically materialize your dead uncle. You can do that. So for them to show up here, the law that they should not break is the law of free will, right? So this is what they teach in the book, right? What makes an entity a bad entity, or what makes you a shitty, terrible human being, is when you start interfering with somebody's free will. So if I come here and slap you, I'm a bad person, because your free will, you don't want to be slapped. Same thing. When I go around killing people, I'm breaking their free will. The free will is to live, and they didn't ask for it, and I'm doing it, and that moves me into the bad direction. So for entities to show up here, we have to ask for them. And only when we ask and accept the existence of these out of our world or extraterrestrials, that's when they start showing up. Otherwise, they won't, because your mom will panic and mine will probably die. So that breaks free will.
Yeah.
So until we can all like actually go like, yeah, all right, they exist, no big deal, that's fine. You saw Tony, who gives a shit? No big deal. Yeah. Right? Say hello to the being. Then they will start showing. But for you and I to actually go like, ha ha ha, they made it. Yes, we were right. It's not gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. With a lot of the the ideas we have in construction with religions and so on and so forth, it would just break a lot of systems down. It would break a lot of governments down. It will break a lot of people's ego, and it would create so much chaos. Like, there would be wars. People would be so unable to comprehend just this level of, I guess, it'd be catastrophe. Now, you said like there's they can manifest fucking flesh bodies like that. Like that's fascinating. I did hear one story about someone in Asia that manifested a whole bloody temple. So that kind of that's connecting a dot right here. But let's go to Tibetan. So there are people that you've heard of the Tibetan monks, right? So the Tibetan monks, these guys at a level of consciousness just vibrating literally on pure love, pure just. This is what we have to aim collectively. Otherwise, we're going to keep going through the chaos like we may experience now. These guys vibrate on love for years on end. Nothing's disturbing their inner peace, their outer peace. to the point that when they can literally die by putting themselves on a vibration so high, they leave their body and their body is still intact in the same uh,
Oh yeah,
condition.
wasn't there a person sitting next to a tree? I fucking saw a documentary about this
Okay,
body who's sitting next to a tree and basically left his body, and the tree sort of enveloped his body. He chose to activate his light body and transcend.
that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's
But
exactly what
where were
was.
you going with this?
Oh yeah, that we have the power to literally to move into that frequency, and that remind you guys, the people watching this, that we are not our bodies. We are not this thing. We are literally just the
Nope.
observer of this vessel, and any sort of attachment is just going to slow us down in progressing to that next level, to that next frequency where we can experience the bliss, where we can experience the love freely and abundantly, because we are not this. You know, we are literally love. That's all we are. That's what we came here for. And I think a lot of us
Well,
have forgotten that
yeah,
because of we've forgotten that because of religion, because of ideas, jobs, you know, the matrix, and
separation.
yeah, absolutely.
So I want to get into the levels of creation because I feel like this will tie a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that you've been talking about. For me, they fucking definitely did. Like whoever is listening,
Yeah.
I've never actually sat down to study any of the spiritual stuff that I've been reading. I would just
Yeah.
listen to it, paint,
Yeah.
and then talk shit on a podcast. But for this, when this came in my hands, I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta sit down and write this down.
Yeah.
So I'll try to riff this, but I'll have the
Yeah.
notes right here just in case I need to find some numbers. So
Okay.
in the Law of One, Ra explains that evolution happens, or the spiritual evolution happens in 7 densities. There are basically 7 densities in which we have to go through to reach the last, which is the seventh, and become one with the Creator. That's the goal. That's the evolution. That's why we have evolution today, right? And he explains that, or they explain that they are on level number 6, and they're basically obliged to help us. The purpose of these densities is to basically choose either to be positive or negative and go through that rabbit hole, go through that progression, and experience what that is. Experience that point of perspective of the Creator. The Creator is one. You experience unity with everything, and you move. Yeah, you just go through that path, or you experience separation, Genghis Khan, Hitler, all these terrible assholes, and you go through that, and eventually you'll turn around and you'll experience, oh, all is one, all is God, all is the capital G God. So I'll just read a little bit from the stages here, right? So the first stage, density number 1. This is the density of beingness. Let me read for you.
Okay.
The density of beingness is what we see when we look at the 4 elements that make up the planets, right?
Yeah.
You have the fire, earth, wind, and water. All these things are alive. They are on a they are conscious, but
Yeah.
their
They're
level of
deep,
consciousness.
more dense.
Exactly, you're absolutely right. They are more dense. So that level
Yep.
is the level of beingness, and it lasts for. Let me find that for you. So as I'm reading this stuff, I'm putting a video together, and I'll be more familiar with the information by the time that's done. So it lasts for billions of years, basically.
Right.
It's so fucking long, right?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we all came from there. We were all
Yeah.
at that density at one time,
Yeah.
at the density of being.
Yeah.
Billions of years later, we have the second density, which is the density of movement, the density of interaction. That's when we start having single-celled organisms. That's when we start having basically anything that is below us and alive, right? And this lasts for 1 to 200 years. So if you have basically spent a life being in one of those creatures, right? One of those second density animals. Your life cycle is from 1 year to 200 years. So the lessons you learn from there are the lessons of interaction and the lessons of movement. The lessons of like, okay, I'm alive, but no self-consciousness. I'm alive. I can move. I can interact. I can build things, and that's That's why everything around us is alive. It's alive, it's conscious, it's worshiping God, but in its own unique way. And now we move into the third density, which is the juicy density where we all exist.
Yeah.
Right? The density of self-consciousness. This is when you and I exist. This is where we are. This is our current density, which lasts for 75,000 years, at least on this planet. Right? And 75,000 years is what the precession of the equinox, right? That's the big cycle that Earth goes through, right? It's split into 3 or 4. How many of them? 12,000 years.
Yeah.
12, all of this stuff ties into Graham Hancock's work.
Yeah.
We are right now at the fourth density. We have skipped the third density. Oh, we're not skipped it. We finished it. Around 2012. Yeah. The third density happens because we are supposed to choose between the polarities of love light, of being one, or of separation. You either follow your ego or you follow the stillness within, the voice of God. This is when we have egos anyway. The third density is when the egos are developing. That's when you see it. And in the beginning of the density, we are mostly identified with our ego, with our separation. That's when you see tribes. And then tribes become countries. Some countries have religions and then they have wars. And all of that happened until just recently when we learned that, all right, this is not fucking working out. World War II, Cold War, and we're like, all right, we got to slow this down. And towards the end of that cycle, towards the end of 75,000 years, this is when you start having movements of LGBTQ, feminism, free religion, atheists coming out, love for all this characteristics that are associated with a nation or a collection of beings that are identified with oneness, with love. Right? That's the end of that. That's the density. Density, of course, your life cycle is from 75 to 100 years old. And the fourth density, now this is when things get really nice. The fourth density is when you start having people like Jesus coming here, right? When you start having prophets, when you are no longer in this meat body, you're less matter, more energy. Yeah, you're in a mixture. We are at the beginning of the fourth density, 2012, and this is why we are having all these basically spiritual vomits. All of the stuff that you see around us, everybody's going through some hard shit. This is why this is happening, because we have to get rid of these dark energies that we allow our bodies to experience, and also collectively as planet Earth to experience, and get rid of that. When we get rid of that, that's when you start experiencing the powers that come with the fourth density. One of them, by the way, is being able to live up to 90,000 years old. Wow. That's peak density. That's somewhere down the line, millions of years from now. But when you and I perish and die and re-emerge in a fourth density body, you and I will live for so fucking long. Wow. And the pains that we will experience in that time will be very minor. Like when you have a headache, that's as bad as it's going to get. Wow. Right? Incredible. And the levels go on until 7th density, and they get more and more abstract and more really godlike. You can then teleport, you can then just manifest things. You can start manifesting things right now in this third density, but there's a bit of a lag time. But you can manifest even more in fourth density, which we will experience coming up. Yeah. So just freaking much, and that's when you start having aliens coming here. So they explain in the fourth and fifth and sixth density the purpose of these densities, the purpose of these levels are first to learn the lessons of helping others. So the tasks for these beings that are already existing in these densities is to come and help other beings like you, beings like me. Beings in second density and beings in third density. The same way you and I, you have a dog. You're teaching that dog the lessons of self-consciousness by calling it a name. And if you shit yourself, or you shit on the carpet, you're not getting a treat. You are pulling that second density being into third density experience. So maybe the next lifetime your dog dies or goes to the happy farm, it will come back as a person. So this is how it works. This is why you want to have apps. This is why I want to build a business. This is why people want to progress, because that need to progress is, by the way, a thing that we will experience throughout our whole spiritual evolution, which is billions of years.
Yeah.
Because that's the pull from complete separation from first density all the way to unity with God, unity with the one, with the divine. Yeah. So it's super fascinating stuff. It's like, my God.
Yeah, it is, man. Funny you say that. Like the Mayan calendars, how they predicted like the end of 2012, when even in for example, in which country is it? I think it's Ethiopia. Their calendar is actually 2012 right now. So we are pretty much seeing the end of the days of, the egoic stage and moving more back into oneness, to unity.
Yeah.
And
the age of love.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Yeah, that's about it, man. We've gone through a hefty lot of subjects there. Anything else that we want to? You've thrown a lot of insight there, man. Yeah, that's about it, man. It's been a fucking long and awesome, interesting discussion.
I didn't even feel the time. Like right now when you said that, I'm like, oh shit, we've been going on for an hour.
Yeah.
So just be on the look for that. When you are, if you do want to learn more about this stuff, there's so much resources online. But someone that I do recommend is a guy called Aaron Abke, Aaron space Abke. That's he does a very good job at bringing all this information together and making it super accessible, because the way this book is written is like a PhD dissertation. It's super technical. It's not just an easy read. So if you want to learn more about the law of one, maybe check out this guy. And thanks for tuning in, and thank you for having me, Daniel.
Yeah, no worries,
for
man.
having me.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate your time, brother, and appreciate all the work that you do. Definitely my favorite artist, man. One of the top artists that I've seen in the conscious community and overall, the creativity level. Please go check out his work at Amro's production. Yet to have my own order. I think we'll have order one in the next week. Got to add beautiful art to this gallery here, and check out his plug as well, Chasing Mindgasms. He's got so much insight on spirituality, sacred knowledge, and health and well-being. So check him out. And man, looking forward to connecting with you. We'll tee up. We'll go live in your studio as well. And man, dive deep again and talk about all these taboo subjects. So looking forward to it. Thanks again, bro. Appreciate your time and much love.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we had this conversation.